Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, I am going to talk about a case in Colorado, a case that kind of blew up a little bit, and let's talk about that and why it happened. But I'm going to talk about it, or at least try to, in a very objective way, because I think there is a teachable moment for all of us, a big learning lesson for all of this. And it really has to do with the fact that we have so much collective wisdom and energy, and sometimes it can be a little frustrating because it doesn't seem like we're all rowing the boat in the same direction. Maybe it's something that we can all start working on. And it starts with the big organizations, but it also includes all of us down here in the grassroots as well. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about why we all better get on the same page before they disarm all of us. Okay, America, this is what we're talking about, and I'm going to start with a couple of caveats. We're going to talk about a little brouhaha between the National Association for Gun Rights and the National Shooting Sports Foundation, both organizations that I think incredibly highly of, and I hope you do as well. We're going to talk about a case out of Colorado called Gates v. Polis. That is a challenge to Colorado's high-capacity magazine ban. Now, real quickly, because I'm going to try to get through this, and I'm going to try to do this in an objective way. And I got to tell you, I'm walking a little bit of a tightrope because for those of you who know me, know that I have a personal relationship with the president of NAGR, Dudley Brown. I think the world of him. And I also think very highly of NSSF. I mean, SHOT Show, coolest 3 days you're ever going to have. If you haven't been to one, you absolutely should start thinking about signing up and getting down there because it is awesome. But you got to understand that these two organizations are different organizations. So real quick, NAGR, much like SAF, FPC, GOA, NRA to some degree, these are Second Amendment advocacy groups, okay? And in this case, NAGR has another organization, NFGR, the National Foundation for Gun Rights, that does all their legal work. That's where their lawyers work, okay? NSSF is a trade organization. They represent the entire firearms industry. They actually represent the entire, basically, sportsman's industry, okay? And shooting sports industry all together. And so they are privy to a lot more data that any of the 2A advocacy groups are not. But their interests are also going to be a little bit different, right? Because they are looking out for the professional interest of the Shooting Sports Foundation organizations. Now, one would think that you would both be on the same page. Okay, now enter the case of Gates v. Polis. Gates v. Polis is a case that is, again, like I said, challenging the magazine ban in Colorado. And here's what happens, okay? NAGR is leading the charge on this thing. They have an expert lined up who's going to be like, well, of course, there's hundreds of millions of high-capacity magazines in circulation. Why? Because then we can argue the common use test, and as we know, if it's in common use, then it can't be banned. And really, the magazine ban argument is just that simple. It's really about math. It's really about math. For whatever reason, the judge out in Colorado strikes NAGR's first witness and gives them a very short period of time by which they need to get a new expert witness to basically explain something that we all already know. This is like getting an expert witness to tell us that the sun sets in the west, okay? But when it comes to court stuff and when we come to the rules of evidence, you can't just take a piece of paper and say, well, there's some proof right there and some data and a report and boom, because number one, many courts may view that as hearsay, but more importantly, the other side has no ability to confront or attack that evidence, right? You can't cross-examine a piece of paper. You can examine the person who wrote the piece of paper, and so it's important that the person who authors your opinions is willing to sit in a witness chair and either testify in court or be deposed. Remember that. Okay, now here we go. So after the NAGR gets their first witness struck, they just figure out like, hey, you know what? NSSF has just done this dynamite report where they've gone through and they've actually, because they got privy to the sales numbers, right? They got a list of all of the magazines. They got all the data on all the magazines that have been sold, including those that were sold with firearms and then those that were sold post firearms, outside the box of the firearm. Okay. And for those of you, we geeked out on this video many, many times, but NSSF basically came to a finding, and I think they're probably even a little underestimating here, that there was nearly 1 billion high-capacity magazines in circulation in the United States. The exact number they gave was 963,772,000, okay? So nearly 1 billion high-capacity magazines. Now, that would clearly show that those were in common use. And so NAGR thought that the author, the research director for NSSF, I'm not going to name him because I don't think he's the problem here. I'm not sure what the problem was here, was willing to come to court and do the deposition or, be subject to cross-examination, right? Because that's just like NAGR would be entitled to cross-examine like Lucy P. Allen or some other hack that they got there. Okay, at the last minute, apparently NSSF, according to NAGR, says, no, he's not going to testify. And at this point, NAGR does not have an expert witness. They don't have any more time. They can't really go back to the court and say, we got good cause for another continuance. And so what's happened here is that NAGR has been left in a position where they filed a complaint and said, we're going to prove all this stuff. Okay, and now it's time to put up or shut up, and they can't put up. And so they had to shut up. And what they have done is they have withdrawn from the case, and essentially the case is going to be dismissed. So the challenge to Colorado's magazine ban as it relates to this case, I'm sure there's other challenges in the system already, but Gates v. Polis is dismissed. Now, maybe NSSF has a very good reason for it. And again, this is not a hit piece on them. This is not a puff piece for NAGR. Okay, I've been very honest about things, and those are the objective facts as it happened here. Okay, so again, I don't know the reason. And if NSSF wants to contact us, wants to come on the channel or give us information, we are absolutely more than happy to disseminate that. Okay, the teachable moment here is this. Is that we are all in this battle together. And I get that why NSSF is actually representing the trade side of the organization. All of these organizations and you, NSSF, are fighting for the same thing. And the more freedoms and individual liberties that we have, the more we will thrive as Americans, and the more your industry will thrive as well. So we all need to be rowing our boats in the same direction. And what you need to understand is this report that you guys did is a terrific piece of work. It's a fantastic piece of research, and the data is super, super solid. But what did you think was going to happen when you wrote this report? You knew that this was going to become the benchmark by which everyone would try to establish common use, because the entire purpose of the report was to come up with a numerical value. But the teachable moment is this, is that if we all are rowing our boats in the same direction, if we're all communicating, then we can actually do something that, Harry Truman actually once told us, which is it's amazing what individuals are capable of doing when nobody cares who gets the credit. So I think as an entire movement, this movement to preserve and protect our inalienable Second Amendment right, we need to make sure that there is better level of communication from the top all the way down to the grassroots, okay? There needs to be better communication between all of the big organizations. There needs to be better communication between all of the state organizations. Because, we talk about all these big federal, national organizations all the time, but there are some dynamite organizations working on individual state levels that are just blowing it out of the water, okay? And the more we can do to support them and the more we can build a community that's based on sharing ideas, sharing resources, and communicating our thoughts and beliefs is a better chance that we are going to weather this ungodly war that we are currently enduring. So listen, to NAGR, you guys do fantastic work. We're going to put a link for them down below. For the folks at NSSF, you guys do fantastic work. We're going to put links down below for them and for you to register for SHOT Show. Like I said, if you haven't done it, you really, really should. And what I hope from everyone that we learn from this is, hey, a little bit more communication could go a long, long way. Now, it's my hope that somehow or another, the major litigation organizations and the National Shooting Sports Foundation figure out how this report can be used, because this is a dynamite piece of research that will be a dynamite piece of evidence. Listen, like I said, if either side wants to add to the story, you're more than welcome to contact Washington Gun Law, and we are glad to give the information, but we're going to try to always do it. We're doing it straight down the middle. We'll let our viewers decide what to think about it. Okay, now, in the meantime, if any of you guys got any questions about anything related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you should know how to get a hold of Washington Gun Law by now, but if you don't, that's okay. That information, it's down in the description box. Maybe you got an idea for a video we should be doing here. If you do, go ahead and click on that link right there. Most of the good ideas we ever had weren't our ideas at all. Maybe you just want to get our monthly newsletter. The ability to do so and subscribe is down below in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.